Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those with nothing but the skills that God gave them, and that a lot of rigorous training and a few $1 million have helped them to hone. I am your captain, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend and first mate,
it's Mozz.
And we are sailing full stream ahead on Season 1, Episode 2 of Hawkeye, Hide und Seek. Clint has to help Cape disentangle herself from the tracksuit mafia and a real-life murder mystery. Our director this week is Reese Thomas. Writers here we got, dang it, come on IMDb, Elisa Laminas Clemente, Stan Lee and Don Heck, of course, get our good old Hawkeye created by characters references. Elisa Lamintz Clement is actually don't give us what her credit is. They just say she's credited as Elisa Clement. So, okay. Executive story editor, of course, is Tanner Bean. Katrina Mathewson is another executive story editor. Head writer, lording it over everybody, Jonathan Igla. And, of course, hardest working woman in show business. You know her name, Heather Quinn. The mighty Eskimo is, I shouldn't have said that. Eskimo. That's but considered untoward by some people.
Oh.
But anyway, moving on.
We're all learning.
We're all learning, you know. It's one of those things. There are certain terms that, like, people use and that, like, people themselves use. And then, you know, they said, you know what? We actually don't like that word anymore. And then you kind of have to stop using the word because it's not a word they like anymore.
Right.
And you're not the person using that word. Like, if I was an Eskimo, I could say, hey, call me an Eskimo all day. And then you'd find a lot of people who are kind of untoward calling you Eskimos. You're like, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't call me an Eskimo. And that's how language evolves. Anyway, but I always think about Mighty Quinn, the song, about the Jamaican Eskimo who is a tough guy. You know, I want to say that was by Bob Marley and the Wailers, but I could be wrong. That could be like, the only reggae band you know is Bob Marley and the Wailers. Yes, the only reggae band I know is Bob Marley and the Wailers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that makes me a bad person. It's a very catchy song, you know? And they probably at some point or another covered it because, hey, why not? It was money. Okay, moving right along. This got way out of hand very fast. Oh, this episode opens up with, you know, just after Never Meet Your Heroes, which, as we have said, should be titled Never Meet Your Fans, where poor old Clint Hawkeye, who I really feel, and this is my take on this, like, this is a tale of two shows.
Right.
This is, for you and me, we're Hawkeye. For some other people, they're Kate.
Right.
And they're just so excited to be here. But, and it's like they're completely capable in their own right, but they're not in their own right anymore. And now we're poor old Hawkeye just trying to get by in this situation. Because clearly he has been drugged into something. Some compromising materials have gotten out. Which, regardless of anything else, that Ronin costume has to be brought back in. Because that is the point. And again, it is this idea that, when Hawkeye engages in that fight at the end of the last episode, he's not dressed up. He's not even pulling out the arrows. He's just, okay, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to use my skills. I'm going to beat up some people. I'm going to get this person away. And then, of course, at the end of last episode, he pulls out the mask and he's like, what the F? Why are you wearing this costume? You are clearly 12. And this is not a Halloween costume, the mask has a back. That's how you know it's not a Halloween costume. This isn't one of those things we wore as kids where you got the little plastic suit and you put on the half mask and you were Spider-Man. No, you're not Spider-Man. You're not Ronin. Why are you wearing this outfit? And of course she says, no, don't worry, man. I kept my mask on like a professional. Which again, that's the reaction they wanted from you, Mozz. That's what I want you to understand. They wanted you to feel that old man hate.
Yeah.
Feel what Hawkeye feels. It's
forsaken kids.
That cloud knows what it did. That's the thing. And,
I guess, but I mean, like, at the same time, you watch that moment or that scene where Clint goes LARPing, and there's so much joy and charm in that scene. It's like and it feels like a scene out of an Ant-Man movie. It feels like a scene out of a Marvel movie. And then you watch any scene with Kate Bishop, and it seems like, it was written by like the CW, cast of writers.
Yeah, well, and again, like I said, I do think that is at least somewhat intentional, that it is this idea that,
even if it is intentional, then I question their intentions to make it that varied of an experience that takes you out of the story that much. Like, no,
because again, like I said, I don't feel that really takes you out of the experience.
For me, it did tremendously.
Well, no, only because you are old and embittered.
Right.
Instead of old and joyful.
At the same time, they're not invalid arguments. Like the acting, the directing, everything about the scenes where, they're talking about Kate Bishop or a character, it's just not as interesting. And when they have scenes that are just like, he's just talking to the guy and he's like, come on, just let me have the suit. Just let me kill you. Those are like, I don't know. They're characters that don't matter, but I'm vested in them. I care about what happens to that guy who stole his costume.
And of course, and that is the point of Grills in this moment, and this is one of these points that is made, is that Grills is a fireman, Grill is a first responder, Grills is an actual day-to-day hero, arguably, depending on how you define that. He runs into burning buildings, he pulls people out. How many buildings burn on a given shift where Grills is at, I don't know. But he's a guy who's ready to run in there if he needs to.
Right.
He's a guy who has said, you know what, when there is fire, I'm going to run in and I might die, but that's okay. I'm going to run out.
That's how he came in possession of the suit, because there was a fire and he ran in.
You're not supposed to take stuff from a fire
True.
suit, though, Mozz. It's kind of shady. I don't want to put Grills up on that pedestal.
True.
When he stole the freaking suit. I mean, for all he knows, we know this is a fire that could be evidence, because we do see old Kate getting that call from the from NYPD saying, "Yeah, hello, Miss Bishop. There was a fire at your house yesterday. Did you know about that?" And she's like, and again, to kind of emphasize you do not know what this world is, Kate. And I do think that is the theme of this: is Kate has to learn to be a hero. She didn't grow up in the circus. She doesn't know Maynard and the gang over in the circus of crime. She hasn't been a part of this world. She only knows it from a training where she was never truly put at the point of death. And that is the point, is that Clint, it's like when they say, they it's always that big BA thing where we train them with live rounds. It's like, well, I don't know if that's actually going to give you a lot of soldiers, but maybe it's going to get you soldiers that are harder to hit, and it's one of these weird things. It's there's the old, so there's this story that says, they would get these planes back and they'd be full of bullet holes, and they'd ask the engineer to figure out, okay, where should we increase the armor plating, thinking that everything should be covered in armor so that it doesn't get hurt. Says, no. Put the armor in this spot and this spot. Because clearly everyone that got hit in this spot and this spot didn't make it home. Because that's probably where the fuel line goes, or that's where the tank is, or whatever. That these are the spots. These spots where they didn't hit, those are the spots that'll bring this plane down. And planes that make it back without these spots are the planes that didn't get hit. And, as we're walking through all this, that's the problem for Kate, is she doesn't know how to really be in a fight for her life yet. And that's it. I think that's what we get to at the end of it, is she learns these things over these 6 episodes so that when Clint says, you can be Hawkeye, it's fine. And, he's going to be okay with it, because he's going to say, you know what, if you really want to put yourself in this situation and you really want to do this fight, I'm okay with it. As it stands in this, we have them, a great West Coast Avengers callback is the aunt she refers to is actually the woman who gave Clint Barton her mansion to use as the West Coast Avengers compound. She was an old actress, and you see one of her posters on the wall. But actually, before that, we do get to... So we open up, we get our Avengers supplies, and again, she's like, oh, we're going to Avengers Towers? And he's like, Stark stole that. Which you should know, because you freaking live across the street from it. You should see it no longer says A for Avengers or Stark for Stark. It now has some other symbol, maybe a Q, maybe a 4. That's the big debate. We reference it, but we're not talking about it yet. Even though it was in No Way Home, but we never see the top of that tower to know who owns it.
Right, it could be Oscorp, right, still?
Could be Oscorp. Big bets right now, of course, it's now either the Baxter Building, the Ford Freedom Plaza, the King Corporation, who actually did buy the Avengers Tower at one point, and that was Keng, King, but actually that's supposed to be another variant of Kang, who just became a financial conqueror. Why not?
Accountant Kang.
Yeah. To be fair, as Quark has showed us that that warriors know nothing about economics, and they're really easy to manipulate because they still have some kind of monetary system. And all you need to do is devalue their stuff while you increase the value of other lands, and you could totally undermine them. Yes, the Klingons were not happy when they found out about accounting. But it's like, to a Klingon, it's like, gosh, this is like first grade stuff. Like, you did not learn how to do dual entry bookkeeping in your primary school. What is wrong with your culture? Focused on how to stab people? How often are you going to stab people? Trust me, you're going to spend money or get money much more.
How did that empire even establish itself?
The Klingons?
Yeah.
Well, they stabbed a lot of people, to be fair,
Fair enough.
So it was a lot of stabbing.
A spacefaring empire just by stabbing?
Well, you know what it is that if you point a knife at an engineer, he'll build a rocket ship.
Yeah, but I mean, in 2 generations, how many engineers are you going to have left if you love stabbing?
Well, I guess the idea is they give the younger kids dull knives, and eventually they just start to track them. It's like, look, you're not a stabber, but you know what? Maybe you make... For example, blacksmiths often aren't fighters because a blacksmith is way too valuable. If you got a guy that can make you a good sword, you don't want that guy on the front line. It's like, no, you stay back. If you ever saw Eric the Viking, and they take the blacksmith with them, they're like, and all the women in the village are like, but who will fix our pots and pans while he's gone? Because it's like, you know what? That's the guy that doesn't go out. That's the guy who's here, and that's the guy who is the town pump. So, as it goes. But, yeah, that's Klingons for you. Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about Hawkeye.
Right.
So
the suit's no longer at her house after the fire. Because that's how the episode opens up is with them in the apartment. And
but I do want to talk about, they go to the apartment. It's like, I did come back to this very apartment. It's like, did you go anywhere else after you left? It's like, I came back here to drop off the dog. And it's like, you took us back to one of the places you went. Brilliant. And this, this is one of these scenes, and this is one of these great scenes we get where, Hawkeye shoots the Molotov cocktail out of, so the guy goes to throw the Molotov cocktail in. Hawkeye breaks the window, grabs the Molotov cocktail, throws it back. Then Kate shoots past Hawkeye into the next guy's Molotov cocktail to show how good of a shot she is, which is arguably impressive that, yes, you can stand there, shoot through a small opening, and hit a stationary target. Very good. But then she later tries to put out the fire by shooting the fire extinguisher and just shoots the fire extinguisher out of the building because she had an idea that didn't work. And again, like I said, I think we're supposed to see she has ideas that do not work. She is not adept at thinking these things through because she hasn't really had to. It's like she can do the math in her head. And this goes back to that first scene with her when she climbs up the building and she does that great handhold, I can be a Spider-Man 2 thing, and she shoots the bell. The first thing does a clunk, but it's not impressive. So she wants to do a bigger clunk on it to get the bell ringing again, even though, as we previously established in the episode before this, that obviously they stopped ringing the bell because someone said, these structural supports are all gone. We need to do a complete renovation on this tower. You want that bell to ring again? We got to completely renovate it. If only some millionaire's kid would destroy it and we could make them restore it to its original status. That would be fantastic.
Right.
As luck would have it, doing good by doing well. Or doing well by doing good, as they say. But, that's the thing. It's this idea of, I have an idea. There's a game called, it's called Vampire or Werewolf or Mage, whatever where you could have certain skills and talents. And there was one of these talents called Jack of all trades, which said you automatically had a half value in any skill. So no matter what you did, you always had some basic knowledge to get one extra die point when you would roll your die. I would always buy this because to me this was the most valuable skill. Get you the extra die. But as a result, you always had to have this backstory. It's like, I just knew a lot of random stuff. And I would always have my character say, I saw this in a movie once. And I would do scenes you would see Clint Barton do, where I do that reversing scene where you slam on the brake and do the hard turn and put the car into reverse. Because I saw it in a movie once. I know physically this can be done. I understand the basic mechanics. If I'm lucky and I roll right, I can do this. Now, of course, Hawkeye, Clint Barton, has the training. He knows how to exactly do this. Kate Bishop, she knows in premise how you might do this.
Right. I mean, like, she knows if I shoot the thing, it might put the fire out, but you have to be so precise with that angle. And under pressure, she doesn't have that experience. And her shot was off. So, I mean, that's the difference, being able to focus and find the mark and find the target, quieting your mind down rather than being like a mess jumble of, oh my God. And she's still that.
Just realized I jumped into episode 3, so sorry about that. But it is this idea. Yeah. Because they didn't do the chase in episode 2. Episode 3 is the big chase. Hear that in a week, kids. But the idea is that, you have to know what you're doing. And we also see where Kate Bishop doesn't know how to put on a butterfly. She puts it horizontally as if it was a Band-Aid. And Clint is like, no, it's not a Band-Aid. It's a butterfly, and you have to put it perpendicular so it holds the two bits of flesh together. Because otherwise, I mean, it might heal, but it also might get infected that way, and also would probably leave a huge, horrible scar. Which,
and it's liable to get opened up really easily because there's not much pressure holding it together, just a thin strip on each side of the cut.
Arguably, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, and that's the idea. And he says, okay, it's only a scratch, you're okay. But it is just the fact that she doesn't know what she's doing. And again, it's not because she doesn't have skills, it's because she hasn't had life experience. And that's what I always say with, there's one of my favorite comic books ever written. It's What If Conan the Barbarian Was Trapped in the 21st Century? And he goes to the gym in the 1970s, and there's this big guy who's like, he's a foot taller than Conan. He's got muscles like the Hulk. And he's like, and the guy like does this like challenge to Conan. And he says, I don't know where you're from. And Conan says, look, I don't know what any of the words you're saying are, but I do know that there's a very big difference that you get in strength between lifting iron lumps and fighting against death. And then he does throw the guy, and then the guy says, hey, man, this guy's got the power. I respect him. And then they become friends, and they form their little street gang, and they wind up taking a lot of power in New York City at the time. It's a really great book. Probably one of the best Conan books I've ever read, because it's set in the 21st century, and it makes sense. In a perfectly 1970s exploitation kind of way. It's like, I would watch that as a movie, especially when he fights Captain America at the end, and you realize that, oh, wow. It's like a natural super soldier versus chemically induced super soldier. Although I do have an argument that actually Steve Rogers in the MCU was always a super soldier. You just didn't realize it because he was so weak. And it goes into all of the diseases he had survived.
Oh.
That you realize that this kid's immune system has fought off everything that the early 20th century had to offer. He's got an immune system for days that can do this all day. I think they actually list polio as one of the diseases he survived.
Wow.
In that, if you look at that, and to me, that's why Erskine picked him, because he looks and says, F you had all these diseases and you're standing here ready to fight. You actually have something special inside you. Yes, you're a good man, and I like that, but you have survived more than literally any person on this planet, and you're still standing ready to put up your dukes again. That's something that's worth recognizing. So, a little extra depth to the MCU that you probably missed the first time.
Yeah, I definitely did. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I don't know if polio's on there, but there is a lot of stuff on there.
This guy could probably survive the procedure.
Exactly. It's like, wow, this person won't explode.
Right.
And that's the thing. And it is that idea that, and if you go into this idea that there is a force of will that carries you through, it's like, you know what, if this guy can have the force of will to keep his body running when everything is about to shut down. Because really what we're about to do is jumpstart their body into the next evolutionary stage. And most bodies will want to shut down. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. Anyway, but back to the story. I do like, I mean, there's so many nice aspects of this. You have, Clint informing Kate, because first off, we find out that Clint has hearing problems at this point, which is great. It's from the book, but also just, it makes sense because he's been at ground zero of a lot of explosions. You have Clint, spotting things and doing things, and Kate recognizes what he's doing, again, because she read it in a book somewhere. She hasn't really had to do this much in a professional setting, but she knows, oh, okay, that's that, and that's that. I know what you're doing. Again, goes to a great scene from All in the Family where these two guys break into the bunker's home and they're holding everyone hostage, and Archie's being Archie, and Meathead is like, no, don't listen to him. He doesn't understand how hard it is to grow up on the mean streets. And, the guy says, oh, and you do? And he's like, well, I read it in a book. I'm learning about it at university. And it is like, yeah, that is a different thing. And it's not to say that it's not a thing, but it is a different thing. Right. And anyway, moving on from all the stories, you get this moment where Hawkeye calls his family. And I love that his wife is aware of what's going on.
That's the same thing I was going to say, because the first inkling you get is like, oh, what story is he going to tell his wife? But their relationship is so wonderful. And so she's like, yeah, okay, no, I got you. All right, take care of it. But she's completely on board. They're like one. I love that moment too.
No, because she knows who she married. She married an Avenger. Because even before he was an Avenger, he was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. She knew what she got into. And he's not a guy who's going to lie to the person he loves.
Right.
He already knows who she is because, he's not going to be with her and be tricked, This is a guy who, said no to Natasha Romanoff. He's like, yeah, I've met Black Widows. It's fine. Yeah. I don't need this nonsense. And he has this relationship with her. I mean, that is like the best thing with, Clint and Nat and, and Clint's wife, whose name I forget, Ms. Cardellini plays her, but I don't remember the actual character's name. But, and I don't need to because it's Clint's family, and that's all you need to know. That's Clint's family, and they should be the most protected people on Earth. Because they didn't want this, but they are part of this Avengers world, and they recognize that, and they know that. And even the kids know that. They know Aunt Nat. And in the first episode, during the Rogers scene, and, his daughter comes out and says, I know she was your best friend. I know it was hard for you to see that. Because that is the thing, is Hawkeye's still dealing with his PTSD. Plus he's dealing with the bad choices he made when he thought the world was hopeless. Even though, like I said, clearly he had good friends helping him. That there were a lot of people who said, yeah, you know what? Sounds like a good idea. Let's kill all the villains who got to live because they should not have gotten to live. If the king of Wakanda has to go to dust, F all those drug dealers.
Yeah.
Because I would rather have freaking T'Challa back. I think we can all say that right now. I'd rather have T'Challa back than every freaking drug dealer in the world. And that is the crux of that biscuit.
Yeah.
And
you also get that great scene with Kate and Jack, the fencing scene, where I thought that was maybe the one scene where her acting was decent, where it felt real, where it felt honest. Where she was being like a petulant child.
and to be fair, like I said, I think that's where she was directed to be. So I don't want to say that.
No. Like, I mean, even whatever. Actress. Like my point is, whatever she was directed to be, she did not pull that off well. in this scene, it felt real. Like the scene had interest. The scene had magnetism. Like you were involved. You're like, oh, what's going to happen? Or like, you felt like you weren't annoyed by the bad acting so much that you were actually involved in the story. It felt real. Like people were really having a conversation, not like someone was, oh, or art thou? And like, performing the caricature of what this character should be, That's the one moment where I thought her acting was okay.
Yeah, and I agree. I really felt that is one of the better scenes in this episode. And it is, and again, like I said, it is this idea that she is much more out of her depth than she realizes. Because she is a 2-time state champion. She's really good in a competition format. But she's never actually had to fight someone with a sword. Whereas I think Jacques
Duquesne
has.
Yeah.
Duquesne, I don't remember, but anyway, he's got the caramels. Although I actually think that there's some levels in this I think is meant to be levels. Yes, he is an absolutely hyper capable swordsman because he is the swordsman. He is also a wannabe superhero, but who maybe has, or supervillain, who maybe has actually utilized his superheroism or supervillainy in the past. But the actual character of Jacques Duquesne has, in the comics, had his redemption arc. Where, again, like I always say, from the last lines in Dusk Till Dawn, it's like I may be a son of a bee, but I'm not an MF-ing son of a bee. It's like there is a line I won't cross, and that's the line I won't cross.
Right.
And I do feel that is a redemptive aspect of this character, not dissimilar, I think, to Kate's actual father, where he was not so concerned about the day-to-day and the right and wrong and all this stuff. He had a plan to, like, things will work out because they do work out. And I'm not going to be too worried about whether or not we didn't make, something this month, because the fact of the matter is that I know the system's set up to protect me. I know that the safety protocols are on. That's effectively what her father said. And I think that, Jacques has said that too, even as he's gotten into deeper things. And in this moment, here's what I'll say. He knows as much about Kate. He probably knows more about Kate than Kate knows about him. Yep. But I do think that he is not the murderer, that he is not the person that is the person trying to be the supervillain.
Right.
Because I think to him, it's just a game. It's a fun thing. We're fighting with swords. And he wants her to know that I respect this about you, and I'm going to let you win because it doesn't hurt me to let you win. Because I know you're not going to run me through with a sword.
In her, in that way, that he's an adult LARPing in the adult world, like pretending to be like this big bad guy, rubbing noses with like, the dog stew eaters, but he's really not, like he wouldn't have been able to be smart enough to pull off that murder. Or he accidentally got to walk away with the sword. He didn't win it in any gamesmanship. So maybe he sees a bit of that, LARPing fantasy world person in her and says, oh, kindred spirit.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. I think that Jacques will be very useful in this story as the story progresses. I do think he will have a heroic arc. And I think that Kate will come to understand the value of what he has to teach her. And I do think that as the story progresses, we're going to get like, oh, that's what that was about. And then, like I said, it's like I said with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think that a lot of times there's stuff that gets mentioned early on that can seem kind of slow when you're just watching it episodically. But that if you just put it all together and you know where you're going, suddenly the story becomes much more vivid. And that's the thing. It's like sometimes when you're wandering through it, you can sort of stumble to the end and you're like, I don't understand what happened. And then you go back and you're like, oh,
I guess
now
maybe.
I see what happened.
But it still seems to me like she's like the Animaniac on the lot. You know, somebody's filming a movie and then Chicken Boo walks on or something. It's one of these things.
And to be fair, I don't think that. I think that's what you're supposed to think.
Fair enough.
You know, it's like, you know, this is what I always say. It's like you can't. It's like Adam Sandler. You can't say Adam Sandler is a bad actor because he's in bad movies and is told to be bad in the movies he's in. But you have to say,
the world supports that badness, right? Her world.
Well, yeah, well, of course.
The rest of everybody else is living in a different world than her. Her world all of a sudden is slapstick, where they're trying to do like dramatic, you know, serious.
But that's the world.
No, that's the thing. It's two different worlds. It feels like there's like the Animaniac.
Well, except that there's only one world. But see, that's the point. There's only one world with consequences.
No. What I'm saying is like the way they want you to, not the world, but the perspective on the world that they want you to have is one way here and then a different way here. It's like it's two different shows. It's two different movies. It's like one is a slapstick comedy and one is a serious movie, you know, and it's so.
But Mozz, for some people, that is how the world is structured. So if
most shows wouldn't do this at the risk.
And that's why most shows have, you know, that's the thing. It's like, and again, like I said, I don't think you can take the first three episodes, and say that's the show. I think when you look at,
I hope it leads somewhere, but I think they've run so far in one direction that's going to be really hard for me to, you know, see it as coming back in the other way.
No, because I think they give you. I think what it is they give you an audience perspective. So, and that's the idea that they're doing a show with two different audience perspectives. And to be fair, this goes back to the books, where one issue is done completely from the perspective of Pizza Dog, and honestly, people want the Pizza Dog episode. I don't think it's going to be an actual episode we see in the series, but I guarantee you it will be an extra later. The Pizza Dog episode where we just follow Pizza Dog through his adventures.
That sounds fun.
But the idea is that, yeah, there are two different perspectives here. There is Hawkeye's perspective as this old guy who's too damn old for this, trying to retire, trying to get back to his family, but he's got unfinished business.
Okay.
As is the tropiest trope of all tropes.
Maybe I'll put it this way. It's like if you tried to make a movie that was alternating scenes between Blazing Saddles and The Martian, right? Some people will say they're both comedies, right? But if you're splicing scenes between Blazing Saddles and The Martian, you're not telling a cohesive narrative. And I think if that's your intention, I question that intention too.
Well, but again, I don't think we ever get into Blazing Saddles. Howard the Duck hasn't shown up yet. Although, to be fair,
I think on the level of professionalism shown by like half the cast versus the other, I see that stark of a difference. I hope it finds a way to make it reasonable. But
I mean, to be fair, Mozz, I am like the biggest stan of everything that has ever been. Any writer who has put pen to paper and had paper turned to actor and then actor turned to videotape. Honestly, that is so much more than I even dream. I mean, arguably I have done it, but you know, I've done it, but other people do it like for money and fame and glory. And I have not been given that opportunity yet. So I'm like, yay, you made a movie. Congratulations.
True.
And that is so much of who I am. And because it is a Marvel property that I'm invested in. And it is I'm this guy who's always going to look for the positive. And it's good that I have a counterbalance in you to say, you know, no, it's not good.
Well, I guess maybe it's coming from almost the same place. I was hoping it'd be good. I wanted it to be good. And then when it doesn't meet the level where I think they're capable of, I get too curmudgeon-y for sure.
Yeah. And to be fair, that is what the critic's job is. If you ever watched The Critic with the brilliant,
it sucks.
It sucks. It stinks. John Lovitz. It stinks. And he goes to his old film professor and he's like, why is my film so bad? And he's like, because you're not supposed to make good films. Sherman, you are meant to be a critic. You have an eye that can see all the flaws. You're not supposed to make great things. You're supposed to demand that things be better.
Mm.
And that is the thing. We're supposed to say it stinks when it stinks because it stinks. And this is what they're going to do. I'm sitting here, and let me tell you, I'll be honest with you. I mean, man, I wanted to like a lot of things over the years that I could not. And at the end, I would say, you know what? It stunk. And it really needed to be better. And here's how it could have been better. I haven't done it as much with Marvel properties for a lot of reasons. But I will say this. When something is a bit more episodic, I hold out hope. And then I wait to see what they do. And if they do something different than what I would have done, was like, well, I certainly didn't see that coming. And then I take it as like, oh, you know, I think they actually had a better idea than I had from the start. When you do a movie, when it's a 2-hour movie, it's like it's too easy to say, well, I would have done this, you did that. And to be fair, I don't think that was the right choice. So if it's fan-fortastic or it's Inhumans, and I can say, you know, here's where you went wrong, it's a little too easy. In this, I am still sitting here and I'm like, okay, I can see how this could work. Now, but if in the next 4 episodes it doesn't work, I'll be there with you, Mozz. I'll say this is Iron Fist 2.0. And I will say,
although nothing could be that bad, because at least Clint. I want more Clint. I want more Clint's family. I want more intrigue with Jacques and Eleanor.
But I think
maybe I'll feel better once she gets her comeuppance and redeems herself. I don't know. Maybe that'll make me feel better.
You know, I don't think she's going to get. I don't think she's going to get a literal. Because what I'll say is, I think she kind of
wake up call. Like a moment where she really truly sees herself for who she is.
Yeah.
Not for the image that she wishes she could be, not really truly knowing who she is at all.
Exactly. You know? And I think at the end of this episode, we get when she crashes through the window, when obviously Hawkeye had a plan, you know, he's doing his catch and release. He already takes his things off. He's like, you know, I can beat up all of you. I just need to talk to I need to speak with your man. Sure, you know. And then I think it's a cute line when Kate falls through. They say, "Oh, I didn't know we were supposed to bring guns."
Yeah. That bothered the hell out of me. I'm like, oh my god, she's so dumb.
No, she's being quippy. And again, it's this
I
idea.
I hope so. Like it's like, oh, these are real bad guys. Oh, they have guns. I only brought nunchucks. I thought we were playing.
Well, but you know what it is this idea that, you know, all these stories are packaged for the audience, which we get in episode 1 with Rogers, the musical. It's packaged. And so the experience these people that non-superhumans or non-superheroes have of the superhero world is that I can do this all day. Hulk, you know the magic word is. Hulk, you know the magic word is. And that's what they understand. They know the quippy. They know all the things that when people went to Stark and wrote it down and talked to Rogers afterwards, and they did the interviews. And there were people that made a lot of money writing the true story of Thanos' attack. You know, all those people, they got all the best stories, all the best lines, and jammed them into a book that everyone got to digest.
Yeah, but let's also just say, like, that show was very bad. The Broadway show, it was really bad. And that, to me, it's like all of her lines seem to be delivered from the perspective of being in that show.
Well, and I think that's the point. Ugh. I think that's the exact idea.
They are nailing the hell out of that.
Well, then there you go. Mission accomplished.
Fair enough. I'll give it that. Yeah, mission accomplished. For sure.
Any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozz?
Yeah, no, that would have been it. Oh, I should have brought guns. That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, it is what it is, my friend. You know, we all should bring guns in what we do. But
Not all of us. That's a very, very bad idea. Not everyone should. Some people should definitely be able to have. Everybody should not be able to have guns.
I am largely inclined to agree. I think that guns are
even for people who like guns. You should not want everybody to have guns because they just make you look bad. Why would you want dummies to have guns? They're just going to make you look bad. And then you will have to deal with more restrictions. Shouldn't we be more careful so that the people who can have guns can continue to have guns?
I'm not arguing with the point. I'll be honest with you.
Again, I'm just getting into my curmudgeonly mode.
No, that is fine, my friend. I'm actually trying to figure out where I put all of my information about the show. I know I saved it to the desktop.
I remember you said it was a JPEG.
It was a JPEG. That's not as helpful in this organizational start shop here. You know what? Let me just go to my C drive. No, not the shutdown. Anyway, Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, find you, talk to you, tell you how awesome you are, how can they find you? There it is, Cape Stuff.
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And likewise, if they'd like to tell us what they think, there are multiple ways they can do so, such as writing to capesandlunatics@gmail.com. That's Capes and Lunatics, all one word, at gmail.com. Not at japesmail.com. That's Capes and spelled out AND, not an ampersand, but Capes, AND, Lunatics, LUNATICS at gmail.com. They can write us a delightful little letter, include JPEGs of their drawings or whatever they happen to have that they would like us to put on YouTube for 5 seconds. Feel free. Likewise, they can call us and yell at us and tell us how dumb we are, or at least me, at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And, of course, go to Linktree. That's linktr.ee/ and it's the / it's the one with the upper right towards slash with the downward left slash like a karate chop. Capes and Lunatics, CAPESAND LUNATICS. No ampersands involved.
So it'd be a right-handed karate chop, but a left-handed uppercut.
A right-handed, yeah.
Right?
If you're a southpaw, yes. For you southpaws in the audience, it's a karate chop versus an uppercut. That's the difference. Anyway, why don't you guys go there, buy some merch. We got merch and stuff, and we've got like a Patreon and things of that nature. Anyway, if anyone does any of that, Mozz, have you given your information? I think you did. I have. You have? No, I will. So, hey, also, if you just want to do something personal, just you and me, why don't you write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I feel like it. Not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not the most recent episode of The Flash. I watched both of them, though not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. But, there's so many things on right now, and I haven't gotten around to live tweeting. But I will live tweet again, I promise, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle. For what?
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, you scurvy dogs. You made it to another end of another episode of another full stream ahead. Please disembark with us again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arr.